Most AI projects fail, and not because the models are bad, but because the model has no idea what the user is precisely asking for. Vibe coding, which was the last shiny object in the industry, failed because you're just throwing prompts at an LLM, hoping it works, and then tweaking things until it feels right. It's a method that's a bit too fragile to build something that's robust. Context engineering, on the other hand, is very different. It's about focusing all your time and energy into building a well thought out, comprehensive plan so that once you give it to the AI, it has no choice but to implement exactly what you're asking for. It has all the context, all the docs it needs, meaning it eliminates any guesswork and hallucination from the model. As Toby, who is the Shopify CEO, said, it describes the core skill better, the art of providing all the context for the task to be plausibly solvable by the LLM. Even Andre Karpathy, who originally coined the term vibe coding, said +1 for context engineering over prompt engineering. Doing this well is highly non-trivial because too little or of the wrong form and the LLM doesn't have the right context for optimal performance. Or on the other hand, too much or too irrelevant and the LLM costs might go up and performance might go down. So you do have to be careful with this. So one more thing I want to explain before we dive deep into how to actually put this into practice is what is the difference between prompt engineering and context engineering. Prompt engineering is just a static prompt, whereas context engineering is about designing and building a dynamic system that provides the right information and tools in the right format at the right time that runs before the main LLM call to give it everything it needs. So now that you know what context engineering is, let me show you how to actually put this into practice. There are 5 main files that we're going to be going through, which are defined in the README. The first one is a cursor rule called read this before touching code. So as the name suggests, the cursor will read this instruction file before implementing any feature or any task you give it in the future. Note that if you are using Claude Code, this is the equivalent of claude.md, so you can use that instead. The second file is the PRP base template, which will be used to generate the PRPs, and we'll get to what PRP is in a minute. And here are the commands to generate the PRP as well as execute the PRP. And lastly, we have the feature file, and this is where you will write exactly what you want to build out. So let's begin with the cursor rule. So this file just has a list of instructions to improve the quality of the code coming out of the agent, as well as some code standards I'd like it to follow. And, I want it to write tests for every feature it implements. This is very important for building consistently reliable features. In here, we also do have the instructions for how to create PRP commands and where to find those commands. And yeah, this is it for this file. I will make sure to link it in the description so you can copy it into your projects. Next, we have the feature.md file. This is the main file that you'll be modifying, and you will write exactly what the feature is that you want to implement, and make sure you're as descriptive as possible because that's how you eliminate any need for the model to hallucinate or think for itself. You want it to know exactly what it needs to do. You will also provide examples of how you want this feature to be used, or an example implementation that you found online or something from a previous project. The more examples, the better, of course. And the third section, which is very important, a list of all the documentation that you're going to be using. So you can have things like docs for a specific library or frameworks, MCPs, anything that you're going to be using during development. Again, this will help the agent know exactly how to use those libraries, as well as having the most up-to-date usage patterns and API spec. Finally, you will add any other considerations or common mistakes that people or AI makes. And in a minute, I'll show you an example of exactly what to put for each section, and I'll show you how much better the outcome will be from using this flow with Cursor or Claude Code. So now onto PRPs, which stands for Product Requirements Prompts, and it's just a play on the classic PRDs for defining a product's purpose, its features, and behavior. This version is just written as prompts for the AI agent. So we have 2 command files. One is to generate the PRP, which is a list of instructions on how to go about that. And the other one is for executing a PRP. And I don't really want to go too deep into what each one does or what's written inside of it, but I will make sure to link these in the description as well. And finally, we have the PRP base template, which will be used as a guide when creating these PRPs. And that's it. Now let me show you a demo of me using this system that we've just created by just filling out the feature file and you'll see how much better this actually works than just prompting cursor directly. Okay, so here's a feature file, and I have filled it out with a simple backend idea. Let me open up the preview so it's easier to see. So it's a link shortener, and I've given it the technologies I want to use. So I want to use Bun with Elysia.js and Redis, where it will just take a URL, an example. Here's an example with some long path, and then my server will return an auto-generated shorter URL that the person can use. And if they even want to put their own custom alias, so you can pass in the URL with a custom alias, and you'll get a short link that has that unique ID that you can give to anyone to use. Obviously, it's localhost because I'm just running this locally. I'm not going to be deploying it to production. But yeah, so we have a few examples of how to use this. So once we've created it, we can get /about page, which is the custom alias we created here. And it should redirect you with a 302 to the original URL. And we have a list of the documentation. So we have Elysia.js docs, Bun docs, Redis, Nano ID, which we're going to be using for the ID generation, and a list of HTTP status codes. And as for other considerations, I told it to only use Redis. I don't want to set up another database. And then the uniqueness check. So when you try create a new alias, make sure it doesn't already exist. And the redirects, make sure you return a 302. Some simple validation, use localhost, some basic things, but this will help a lot. So now that we have this feature file, what we can do is we can open up the chat and I can tell it, I want to create a PRP file for this feature. That's it. This is my only command that I'm giving this AI. Now we'll press send. This will take a second, so I'm just going to speed through this. As you can see, it's reading the generate PRP file as well as the PRP base template. So this is a great sign. Okay, so here's the file it created. This is the PRP, which it has saved in the PRP folder. So if I close these, you can see it correctly put it in the folder. And it called it link shortener with Bun, Elysia, and Redis PRP. It wrote down the purpose for this, converts long URLs into short shareable aliases, some core principles, where to find the global rules, the goal of this, you know, how it's going to work, why, what. So it's going to be, you know, all the endpoints and how that's going to work, the success criteria, how to know what to test for, some of the documentation that I gave it. So it lists them all out here and what to use them for. The current code base tree, so it knows what things are looking like right now, as well as the desired code base tree. Some known gotchas and library quirks, the URL mapping, list of tasks. This is all very good. So now what we need to do is we just need to take this PRP and ask the AI agent to execute it. So let's open up the chat. Great. Now can you execute this PRP? Let me make sure I add it. So it's created a list of to-dos based on what we gave it, based on these tasks. Okay, so the agent is finally done. And as you can see, it has checked off all the criteria that we've set in the PRP. It has created the files in the right format. So we have the routes, the services for Redis and shortening the URL. We even have integration tests and unit tests, some utilities to create the nano IDs and things like that. Here's the routes. We have health, and then we have the shorten URL. And there should also be, yep, there's the get URL as well with the alias. So to test this out, first thing we need to do is run the Redis server. Okay, ready to accept connections, and then we run the backend. So bun run dev. Attempting to connect to Redis. Look at that, it even has some nice logs for showing you the connection to Redis, as well as all the endpoints that we can hit. So let me copy over all these endpoints to Postman so we can test this out. Okay, so we have the two URLs in Postman now. So we have the /health. As you can see, I already ran it. The status is okay. We can see that Redis is connected, so that's all good. And the other one is the slash shorten. So I've given it the context engineering article with a custom alias. Let's just say context eng. And once we send that in, you can see we have created a new URL slash context eng. And the original URL is this whole long context engineering article URL. So if I click to open that, we can see it correctly took us to the article page. And if I go back and remove the custom alias, we should get an auto-generated one. So here we go. We have TQVR1U. So this is an auto-generated short URL, and that also works. And it automatically redirects us to that page. So it's all working great. So yeah, all it took was one prompt to tell it to execute the PRP, and it one-shotted everything. Everything works now. We do also have some tests we should test out. So if you write bun run tests, oh, okay. So the tests do run. We have 27 that pass and 4 that failed. So what we can do is we can just say, add to chat, can you fix these integration tests? Okay, nice. It seems to have fixed the issue. All 31 tests should be working. There we go. And yeah, so that's been context engineering. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Also, if you do have anything you want me to cover or do a tutorial on, put it down in the comment box and I'll make sure to do that ASAP. Peace.